Welcome to Financial Perspectives, the podcast. Join the team at Foster Group and our expert guests as we explore a variety of subjects that could impact your financial life. We will cover timely economic and financial market news, a wide range of personal financial planning ideas, and investment topics. Ultimately, we want to encourage educated optimism and do our best to provide valuable insights to help you navigate your financial journey with confidence. Please stick around at the end for important disclosure information. More information about Foster Group can be found in our ADV brochure at fostergrp.com.
Special needs planning often feels like it applies to someone else, but in reality, it's part of something much broader. At Foster Group, we often think about it this way. Everyone has a parent, child, a spouse, or a friend who needs extra support at some point in life. That's why we use the term care planning, because it captures the full picture, including disability, special needs, and elder care, and reflects just how many lives and families it truly impacts. Whether we realize it or not, we are all deeply connected to this community. It's a shared human reality that touches so many every day. Yet individuals and families often face significant financial challenges, from higher daily cost to barriers that limit long-term independence and stability. Joining me today is Senior Lead Advisor at Foster Group, Matt Stagner. Matt is as passionate about his topic as he is equipped to help families that face the challenges that come with it. Matt has become a nationally recognized subject matter expert, speaker, and advocate for the disability community. His work has been featured in leading publications, and I'm confident you will benefit from his insights. So let's get into it. Matt, welcome to the studio.
Thank you, Gretchen. I couldn't be more excited to be here today.
Perfect. Matt, before we get into the details, tell me about what drew you into this part of financial planning.
Sure. Well, I grew up in a small town and within a family without a lot of money or resources. And so when I found financial planning as a career, I was already thinking about underserved populations and how I could help. And then I had an opportunity to join a task force and learn more about disabilities and special needs with the previous employer I worked with. And then I was hooked. This has been a very rewarding part of my career. And it's definitely an underserved population, the disability community, thinking about those families that struggle to find good information and good resources to accomplish the same financial goals that everybody has.
And this is personal for you too, right? And you're also still very active in committees and, nonprofit organizations.
Yeah, I remember early on, right when I got out of college, I helped both of my grandmothers go through that process of applying for Medicaid and going into long-term care facilities. All the different family dynamics that can be really challenging and the financial issues that go along with that. So I refer back to that experience often. As I learned more about this population, the more I understood that good information, trusted advice, those are really hard to come by for people with disabilities and for caregivers. And so when I came to Foster Group, I had to dive in. I had to help. I had to get involved in this community locally. So I have the privilege of working with several local nonprofits as a board member, being a volunteer, helping those people that reach out with a question, whether they have resources or not. It's so rewarding to be at least part of that conversation and to give somebody a little bit of help, a little bit of relief of that stress, point them in the right direction, find some resources that can help with the short term, the day-to-day stuff. Because as financial planners, we're always trying to talk about the future, retirement, long-term investment returns, those estate plans that may not kick in for a number of years. Well, that's difficult to do when your day-to-day focus is on caring for your loved one with a disability or your aging parents or just navigating the system yourself as a person with a disability. So my hope is that if I can help with some of those short-term needs, we can free up some resources and some bandwidth for people to plan for their futures and have a better quality of life, which is really what it's all about.
Yeah, and I know you've found some statistics on this that might surprise some people. What do the statistics say when it comes to who needs care and who might be a caregiver?
Yeah, so already 24% of the population are family caregivers. So these are unpaid family and friends that are taking care of someone who needs a little help because of a diagnosis, a disability, or a medical condition. Add to that the 28% of the population that have a disability at some point in their lifetime, and now you've got more than a majority of the population that either has a disability or is caring for someone with a disability or a special need. And I would argue that the rest of us maybe aren't in this population yet, but there's a good chance we will be. Well, that number goes up north of 50% for those that are 75 or older. So the chances are, as we get older, we'll have some chronic condition, some disability, some disease, something that restricts our mobility or our ability to live independently, and we're going to need some help as we get older. The planning is sort of the same. You have a lot of the same concepts, a lot of the same benefits and tools available to you as other forms of disability and special needs related planning. But what I'm hoping is that we at Foster Group can have a little bit different conversation. So instead of talking about it like a risk that we have to insure away or find a solution for, let's talk about it as an eventuality, as something that is part of our lives that we need to plan ahead for. So let's figure out how we want to receive that care, where we want to receive it, how much that's going to cost, and incorporate that into our other plans.
Despite how widespread this is, there are major financial challenges. And why has achieving financial independence historically been difficult for people with disabilities?
Whether intentional or not, there have been barriers put in place that do make it more difficult for people with disabilities and for caregivers to achieve the same quality of life as the rest of the population. A lot of it starts with employment. Gainful employment is how most people build financial independence. Mm-hmm. And the unemployment rate for people with disabilities is usually double what it is for those without disabilities. In addition to that, there are also additional costs that relate to living with a disability and to being a caregiver or providing that care that just need to be accounted for and need to be planned for.
So you talked about employment and barriers. What about the benefit programs?
Sure, is often well-intentioned, or we can assume they're well-intentioned, but government benefit programs can be part of the problem as well. So programs like SSI, which is Supplemental Security Income, or Medicaid may also have income limits, asset limits, other restrictions that make it difficult for a person with a disability not only to earn a living wage, but also to save and invest for their future without running across those asset limits and losing programs that are really valuable to their day-to-day lives.
Mm-hmm. That's unfortunate. So what are some of the financial pressures that people with disabilities and their caregivers face day to day?
Some people refer to it as a disability tax, but it costs about 28% more for a household that includes a person with a disability to have the same quality of life as a household that doesn't.
Wow, 28%, that's a big number. So what are some of the specifics that come into play when you think about that number?
Sure, there could be additional expenses for therapies or equipment or home modifications for some types of disabilities. There may also be a need for transportation assistance, things like that may cost extra money, but also have the intangible cost of it takes more time, it takes patience, it takes waiting for someone to help as opposed to being able to do everything on your own.
All right, so we've identified some of the challenges. Let's talk about the solutions. Given all of the things that you've laid out, where do you start?
To me, it starts with building a great team. Having the right supports in place, whether that's a financial planner, an attorney, an accountant, or it may also be an educator or a social worker, a case manager, a family friend, someone else in your life that's going to help make all of this stuff happen on a day-to-day basis now. And then for a lot of caregivers, a lot of people with disabilities, they're not just thinking about today, they're thinking about what happens in the future when things change. Who then is going to be able to step up and assist? So start with building a great team, finding roles for everybody, communicating well with those teams, team members.
What's the right time to put that team into place? And when should you start thinking about letting them do some of these responsibilities?
This is one of those things that people may feel the urge to put off. But obviously, the sooner the better when it comes to putting a team in place. You want it done before it's too late, before it's needed, before it's a crisis or a mad scramble to get the right services in place. You want to get used to it. You want to have a system set up and maybe even test that system before it's needed.
Do you have any examples that you can provide of people that you worked with where you've seen putting a support team in place has been really beneficial?
Absolutely. I'm working with a young man right now that has a variety of different people in his life that he relies on. There is a representative payee who handles Social Security benefits. Mm-hmm. There is a trustee who manages trust assets. There's a caseworker, a social worker, a brother, a family member, others. And it can be really confusing. It can be a lot of concern about who do I go to for what and who do I listen to when I need advice or help. Mm-hmm. So it can be a big team, it can be a broad team, and it can be something that's really important to have some help coordinating that care, that team.
Including a good advisor, right? And having someone that is kind of put in charge of quarterbacking this effort on behalf of the person that needs the help.
Being able to step back and have a holistic view of somebody's financial situation is important for every financial planner, right? But for those of us that work directly with people in the disability community, I think it's even more important to understand those day-to-day things that make life a little bit more difficult, a little bit more costly, and see if we can help with some of those barriers, help them find coordination, care coordination services or providers or facilities or all those different things that we need to plan ahead because we may need at some point, or maybe we need that sooner rather than later. Being able to take a step back, view that within context of a person's resources and benefits, and being able to introduce services that can help make their lives better is really a valuable and a really rewarding part of our job.
When it comes to the person with a disability themselves or to their caregiver, what concern do they alleviate when they have this put in place? Like, what is the biggest concern that you see or hear from people that are facing these challenges?
Yeah. So a lot of people with disabilities are towing this line between being active in the community, being employed, saving for their own financial security, and the government benefits that they rely on for healthcare and transportation and sometimes living assistance. And so that's one of the biggest challenges for individuals with disabilities. I think caregivers, a lot of times it is time, it is attention. That is the first thing that a caregiver thinks about, is how to take care of their loved one, how to the person in their life that they care so much about. All the parents out there already know this feeling from having kids, mm-hmm. but imagine being in that role for somebody else in your life. And the tendency is always for caregivers to put that person before themselves. Yeah. And just like when you're on an airplane and they drop down the oxygen mask and they say, in case of emergency, make sure you secure your mask before helping someone next to you. Caregivers really should focus on caring for themselves as well. Their own health, their own well-being, their own mental health, their own financial security. In order to be there for your loved one, it's important that we also care for ourselves.
Yeah. So the next thing I want to talk about is that there are a lot of specific solutions available, and I know you're very well versed in these. So tell us a little bit about what some of those are.
One of my favorite newer solutions for people with disabilities is called an ABLE account. ABLE stands for Achieving a Better Life Experience, and it is basically a 529 plan that we might think of for college savings. But this one is designed for people with disabilities. If your disability started prior to age 46, you could be eligible. You get the tax benefits of saving like you would in a 529 plan. But the resources in that account do not count against you when it comes to government benefits test. So you can save and invest for all of those things that help your quality of life. It's really a fantastic start for someone who is eligible and really wants to start building some resources.
Are there any other options beyond the ABLE accounts?
Legal planning becomes really important with this community. Making sure that we have solid estate plans in place with all of the standard documents that everyone needs, like a will and powers of attorney and a living will. But this community may also require certain types of trusts that help maintain benefits and pass on resources from one generation to the next. So there's, for example, a supplemental needs trust, otherwise known as a third-party special needs trust, which is a big part of a lot of people's estate plans. When you have a person in your life with a disability that you're caring for or that you want to leave money to, we need this legal structure to make sure that those assets don't disqualify them from benefits, but that you're also not disinheriting your loved one when it comes time to sell your estate.
So there's financial solutions, there's legal solutions, and that really speaks to the importance of having that entire team in place that's working together.
Absolutely. And it's also important to think about the things that are maybe a little more personal. Our preferences for care, who we want to help us, what we need help with, where we want to live, how much is that going to cost, and how to structure all those things that we need for our quality of life. So I think back to a family that I worked with that had a child with autism, and his favorite thing in the world to do was play video games. And so this family, planning ahead for the possibility that maybe they wouldn't be around forever to take care of him and that somebody else may have to step in the future. Well, they put in their special needs trust the requirement that the trustee buy this kid the newest video game system on the market every 2 years, just to make sure he has the quality of life that they want for him, that he wants for himself. It's a really personal thing, but it's something that you can incorporate into your plans, and it really gives that peace of mind to that family.
That's so great. I love that story. Before we finish here, is there anything else that you wanted to leave us with when it comes to the topic of care planning?
So I'll leave you with two more quick tips. One is that all plans are more effective when they're written down and when they're updated. That gives you the best chance at what you want to happen happening in the future and what you don't want to happen not happening in the future. It's also so critical for families to be able to communicate about these topics before it's too late. So meet with your family, talk about who's going to do what, make sure everybody's comfortable with those roles and understands what's going to be expected of them in certain situations. And keep updating your family members when your plans change, when your life changes. That communication, those conversations are some of my favorite parts of the work that we do, but it's also some of the most important.
Matt, thank you so much for your time and also for sharing your wisdom on this topic. It's been just a wonderful conversation, and I just love your heart for this community.
Thank you.
This conversation reminds us that financial planning for people with disabilities and caregivers isn't about replacing support systems. It's about strengthening them. It's about creating opportunities where there were once limitations and helping individuals and families build the independence and quality of life they deserve. Thank you for joining us for this important discussion and for helping shine a light on a community that, in one way or another, includes us all.
The previous presentation by Foster Group was intended for general information purposes only. No portion of the presentation serves as the receipt of, or as a substitute for, personalized investment advice from Foster Group or any other investment professional of your choosing. Different types of investments involve varying degrees of risk, and it should not be assumed that future performance of any specific investment or investment strategy, or any non-investment related or planning services, discussion, or content, will be profitable, be suitable for your portfolio or individual situation, or prove successful. Foster Group is neither a law firm nor accounting firm, and no portion of its services should be construed as legal or accounting advice. No portion of the content should be construed by a client or prospective client as a guarantee that he or she will experience a certain level of results if Foster Group is engaged, or continues to be engaged, to provide investment advisory services. A copy of Foster Group's current written disclosure brochure discussing our advisory services and fees is available upon request or at www.fostergrp.com/disclosures.